afternoon for everyone. Again, my name is Heidi Pusztai, and I'm the coordinator of the organization who is behind this great sisterhood between Budapest and Dayton. And we also have other 15 communities who are our partners. And the name of the organization is Partnership Together. We connect Israel, a beautiful area of Israel, which is the Western Galilee, and Budapest, Hungary, and again, 16 American communities. And we try to create mutually beneficial connections on different professional or cultural fields. It's a great opportunity for us that we can participate on this film festival as a partner community as Budapest, and we are also very happy that this program is available for all our American partners. So I would like to greet all of you. What is very unique in this event that I don't think that we ever had such cooperation as Budapest. So it's the first time that we are making some culinary program in the system, and I'm very happy and proud to introduce you Lujza Juhász, who is on the call. Yes, hi Lujza. And she will be our guide to the Hungarian culinary today. The way how I met Lujza's mom, Erzsi Sándor, she's a volunteer on the program that we created for the second generation in Hungary. That was a very new initiative, and now we try to extend this program to our all partnership communities. This became a great friendship with Erzsi as well. And when we thought about some program like this, I was very happy that Lujza said yes to our invitation. So she's a very unique person. I don't want to spoil her so much because she is here to talk about herself. So I would give her the chance to start our special program. So hi, Lujza.
Hi, and thank you very much for the introduction. So I'm Lujza. I'm based in Budapest at the moment as well. The special part of where I'm living, or where's my kitchen, is basically I'm staying and living in the oldest Jewish-based community place. This area was and still is one of the well-known Jewish quarter of Budapest. Not the ghetto where all the terrible things was happened, but in another part, which is quite a new compared to Budapest. And I was thinking that that's how we could start. Usually, I do cooking classes for foreign people who's visiting Budapest. I really like to show them the area a little bit around, and then we come up to my kitchen and we cook a lunch and have some palinka, getting tipsy, laugh a lot, things like that. So I was thinking, I found this picture in a magazine, which I was really pleased, not really long ago. So 115 years ago, the place where I'm actually sitting in the kitchen looked like this. It was factories and mines and fields and nothing else. This is a picture from the Market Bridge. Here's actually so for this part, here's the Market Island, which is pretty famous. If you ever been visited Budapest, or if you ever will be, go there because it's really beautiful. It's like a huge park. So this, what you actually just saw in the picture, at the moment, is one of the most expensive part of Budapest. It's built in the beginning of the 1900s, just and basically for the only reason to make the rich people move to this part of the city and make some more money to injection to do the word, to to the city life, basically. So I'm in Pest. All the rich people, the old time, been living in Buda, they still. But then the reason why this new part been built to make them feel comfortable with high ceiling apartments like this. It's, if I'm standing up, I'm pretty small compared to where's the end of it. You see? So and this part where I'm actually now, it was for the maids. So obviously the kitchen and the maid's room and the second entry and things like that was for very rich people who's been having a maid or a servant or things like that. This is what I really like to talk about as well, because it just pushes back a little bit in time and in history. So so this is the place where I am. That why it was important in my Jewish heritage, or why it was important, or what, yeah, in the history, because this was the national ghetto during the Second World War. There's where all the Yellow Star buildings you can find, and this is the place where the also those buildings you can find where I don't know if any of you've been heard the shoe memorial in Budapest. You nodding? Yeah, you, loads of you nodding. Okay, so so the shoe memorial is for those people who's been living in these buildings, like in the one where I live now. So this is something very uniquely important for me, and I really like to show this for the people who's visiting my classes and visiting the city, because I do believe it's very, very important not to forget about these things. So so this is about the neighborhood where I am at the moment and where you are at the moment. So what we're gonna cook today is, everybody can hear me clearly? Should I speak louder? It's okay? Okay, so I'm just gonna try to get, okay. Anytime when you can't hear me or can't see what I'm doing, probably I should put this a little bit closer. Maybe not, I'm not sure. Was it better over there or it's better over here? How do you feel? Okay, so hello, this is my chicken leg. So what we're gonna cook today is paprika chicken, based on the recipe of my mother. So originally we started to do these cooking classes with a friend of mine who's unfortunately got really, really successful. I mean, it's unfortunately for me, but it's very fortunate for her. And she's working as a marketing consultant in the other side of the city. So she's not really doing the cooking classes with me anymore. But if you ever been heard the name Raoul Wallenberg, I'm pretty sure you did. He was a Swedish diplomat during the Second World War. He saved 100,000 people in this neighborhood, including her grandmother. So she's existing because of this Swedish gentleman who saved her, and I'm actually living in the streets after him. So this is also something, well, is very important for me. So so we mixed up our family recipes with Sophie, and we thought it could be very interesting how two Jewish family cooking the same Hungarian dishes. We had loads of arguments. We've been fighting a lot of what pudding, when and how, and the measurements, things like that. But we ended up with a quite good method with loads of stories behind. So let's start at it. So it's not going to be very, very difficult, as you probably have seen it in the recipe already. I use chicken thigh because it's a lot more fatty, and it just feels, well, it cooks better, and that's how I like it. Probably gonna get some more lights. Yeah. So a very big chicken thigh. I'm not taking the skin off because it has loads of good flavors inside, which I actually really like, and I like the skin as well. I don't know if any of you do. I'm not cutting the chicken pieces too small because it's usually full of water. So as we cook it for about 50 minutes after all, it's going to get smaller and smaller and smaller. So we don't really want that. We like to eat it as it can feel. So the chicken thigh itself, I like to open it up as a butterfly, just cut it in here in the middle. To just make the sauce what we're gonna cook really goes into the meat itself. I'm just going to open it up over there as well. Not more than this, it's completely enough. So just gonna change the boards because I'm gonna chop some onions and things like that. It's where our first family recipe mixing happened with Sophie was with the onions. So her grandfather started to cook when he was over 80. And he became a fantastic chef. He loved to cook. He was cooking loads of different things in old age, which was pretty fun. And he said to us that in every meal needs 3 different kind of onions, because it's not an accident that loads of different kind of onions exist in the world. So let's use as much as we can. So I'm going to use 3 of them. The normal onion, and then the purple one, and garlic in my country, that counts as an onion as well. So that's the 3 onions which we're going to use today. Then our first argument with Sophie was that how much of the onions we should use. My mom says as much as you can, because that's what makes it juicy, flavorful, and things like that. And Sophie's mom says you just only use 2 small ones because that's enough. Well, since Sophie's not here, I'm using a load of onions. So we're gonna use loads of onions. You don't really have to, but my mom always said that actually to get the juice out of the onion and mixing up with the paprika powder, that's going to make it feels really flavorful, really rich, really well. That's why people love Hungarian kitchen and cuisine. While I'm peeling the onions, I don't know how much you know about how this whole thing's happened with gouache and chicken paprikash, and do any one of you know that what's the story behind, or what's basically these things are? So so the truth is they basically all the same. So imagine a very poor country with loads of people who's working on the fields and taking care of animals and spending, like, I don't know, 10 months on the fields and shepherds and taking care of the... Is there anyone saying anything? No. Oh no, I'm sorry for that. So so these people are in the fields for loads of months. They can eat what they found. Obviously, there is the meat of the animal who they taken care of, and then some potatoes and onions and salt and pepper, paprika powder, obviously, because who else would go anywhere without paprika powder? And so if you cook a stew, which basically what we're going to do today, and then you add some more water for it or in it, it's going to be a stew-ish soup. That's the goulash. If you're reducing the water, there's going to be a thick stew. That's what we cook today. That's paprika chicken, or you can do it with beef. You can do it with mushrooms if you're vegetarian, or if you're not eating these things altogether. Or you fish, I mentioned. You can do it with fish. So you can basically add any type of meat, what you can, to make it more comfortable for yourself. This is the other reason why I really love this recipe, because you can basically, you only have to taking care of a few things, and then you can add all the things that you love and cook it for 15 minutes, and bam, then there's the food for the whole family. Slowly I'm finishing up with the onions, and I don't know if is there many people who's kosher from you guys, or are you eating everything?
We actually adjusted the recipe to non-dairy to make it a kosher recipe.
Oh,
So
nice.
instead of using the dairy, we have the non-dairy, I forgot what we're using, non-dairy yogurts and things.
Oh, okay, great. Because actually, well, we're not kosher, so we do cook with fats and things like that. And I was hoping that you don't mind if I still cook with fat, because otherwise my boyfriend won't eat it. So, and then what would I gonna do with it?
That's fine. Our recipe is you know, just has some differences with oil as well.
Okay, great. So as I finish up with the onions, I'm just gonna quickly cut it in. So that's the amount what I'm using at the moment. Can you see it? Yes, great. So there any of you who's actually cooking with me now? Have you chopped the onions? Great. Okay, so I still have 2 more of the onions to cut. And is that okay if I'm asking question, or should I just guide this cooking class through and then asking questions about you? Oh, that who's
questions. Ask questions. Go for it.
That's just because if any of you've been here, because I've met with in one of the partnership programs couple of months ago. Was it a half year ago? Basically, I met with some of you, I believe. Or you ever been in Budapest?
I think you met with the Discovery group. That was our older adult group. Patty, is that? Yeah.
Yes, in the beginning of November.
Beginning of November. Okay, so actually, those of you who's now here, you've never been in Budapest before.
I have.
Great. Okay. Well, so I don't know if, for example, paprika powder, as you mentioned it, that what's the differences between the one what you can find in America and what actually is here? I can't really imagine the differences between paprika powders and paprika powders for me. It's, always look in an ugly bag like this, and there's always one in an even more ugly bag like that. We have 4 different types. One is sweet, one is spicy, one is smoked and sweet, and one is smoked and spicy. Basically, how we're using it, it depends on the ingredients which you added. So as I'm going to use pork fat, this is actually the pork fat what we're using for cooking. Not all of this, oh my God, it's going to be enough probably for a half year. But I asked my boyfriend to go for shopping for me because I was working in the early hours. So he thought I'm going to cook for a whole army and they're going to all come and eat it, but obviously not. So this is the skin part, which I cut it off, and my dog going to be very, very happy about it. And just quickly slice it as small as it possible. And how can you see that? There you go. And my favorite pot, I believe all of us have a favorite pot, do we? So as I'm using smoked fats, this is the reason why I'm gonna use unsmoked paprika powder, because otherwise, obviously, the smokiness would be so intense, it would just ruin the whole dish. So I'm just gonna heat up the fats, make them just like melting a little bit, and then I'm gonna add the 2 type of onions. It became quite amount, as you can see. Hope Sophie's not watching the live. And then I'm gonna add the 2 slices of garlic. You can add more if you like to. It's completely depends on your taste. Oh, I can hear the okay, it's melting now. So I'm adding the onions, and I'm just going to try to get the camera to actually show you that how does it look like. So this is where we are at the moment. My mom not drinking alcohol at all. She got tipsy after a glass of champagne really fast. That's really funny, actually. If you're ever going to meet her again, make her drink a glass of champagne, and then she's going to be the funniest person in the world. So she's not drinking, she's not cooking with alcohol, but I am. For these kind of dishes, I really like to add some white wine, dry, maybe a tiny bit fruity one, because the fruitness comes out pretty beautifully and intensely with the chicken. So just give me a second. I'm just jumping in to the fridge. So the wine which I'm going to use, and which if you ever come to Budapest, it's something very unique to try. The wine called Irsai Olivér. It's a very Hungarian type of grape. It's actually a Hungarian man who invented this grape, if that's a good word to say. It's a very fruity, very rich, very light, bit acidic wine. Goes really well with all kind of chicken dishes. So I'm adding a small amount. That was it all. Just not to make it burn down. Cover it. And wait until it's get a little bit more juicier. I'm taking it a bit of low heat and quickly cut the 2 slices of garlic. So what usually happens with foreign people who's cooking Hungarian dishes, it's they burn the paprika powder, because it's a very sensitive thing, this paprika powder. If you're using it on open fire, so it's still, the heat comes really intensively from the pot, it burns, and when it burns, it got really bad. It has an awful flavor then. So the trick, it's pretty easy, and in a few minutes time I will actually show you. So you take the pot off heat, you just close it down or take it off or however, and then wait a couple of minutes, not even minutes, just seconds, until it makes a good balance of the temperature. And then you're adding the paprika powder on the juice, not on the pot, just on the juice of the onions and the oil or the wine or whatever you have it in, and quickly stir it. Oh, I can see the chat as well. That's really interesting. And then you just stir it to make it basically safe by the juice and by the wine, by the water, whatever you adding into it. So this is the trick, and then you put it back on heat. Just take care of it. It's really important. Thank you. We still need to wait a couple of more minutes until it's getting like nicely cooked. Until I just make some cleanup after my mass. Those who actually the recipe, have you tried the dumplings as well?
I'm sorry, the what?
The
Can you repeat
dumplings.
Dumplings?
I don't think we got that recipe.
We didn't, yeah.
Oh my God, that's I was pretty sure you did, but then I will send it because I was
Great.
actually thinking that it's really, really nice. We haven't been talking about this, Heidi, before, have we? That the dumplings gonna. We haven't.
Yeah, we said that we won't have time for that because we scheduled, 1 hour or so together with
yeah.
the Hungarians.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
I
Okay.
told you that probably we won't have time for that, but I think that maybe after the meeting we can send it to everyone, and it can be a great complimentary part, and I think it's enjoyable also with other side dishes. So that's what we agreed on.
Yes, you're right. Because now it's 6:35 in my time, so we've got 25 minutes more. And as we're gonna get pretty close to the end of the preparation, what do you think if I show you how to make those famous Hungarian dumplings as well, which is an absolute Hungarian side dish for these kind of meals?
Perfect.
Great. Because as I'm waiting for the onions to get cooked, I quickly gonna heat up some water and okay, these are the Hungarian dumplings. Actually, I don't even know if they're actual dumplings. Sometimes we translate it for noodles. Sometimes we translate it to pasta. Basically, all of them and none of them. It looks like gnocchis, but nothing to do with gnocchis. It's probably as unique as we are. You can say loads of things about us, and nothing all of them is true, and all of them is true. So I'm using a pastry flour. It's not as fine as the usual flour what you're using for baking. It's more like pastries. I will quickly show you how is it. I just stir it, and I'm just gonna add a bit more wine.
So you haven't put the chicken in yet, have you? Is the chicken in already?
No. I'm just waiting for the onion to get basically cooked until you can see through in it like a glass.
Yes.
So that's why I was thinking that we can go a little bit further on because it's still going to need a couple of more minutes. And then I'm going to show you how to add the paprika powder and the chicken. But the pastry, as I was talking about it before, so you can see it's fine, but it's not. You can see the little pieces. I don't know what kind of flour it should be in America, but I'm pretty sure that you have something like this. You don't need much, especially not for two people of for 4 people because it's, well, it's a pasta, so it's going to get a lot more thicker. And I'm going to add a tiny bit of salt. And this is something what then, okay, every family is probably different. My family is adding sour cream, but loads of families just adding water into it and nothing else, and then just like mix it to 2 things up. I have to jump to the fridge again. So I've got some sour cream. I'm going to use, it's a small 150 grams. I'm going to use like a half of it approximately. And starting to mix in the 2 things up. And there's something I had, oh my God, yes. So I had 2 fiancés, and I had really good relationship with the grandmothers. So I learned loads of things from my ex-fiancé's grandmothers. One of the things was using sparkling water for cooking pastas, because even if you cook pancake or even if you cook these kind of pastas, it's going to make it a lot more lighter. So I'm going to add some sparkling water to this. I really love it when it's bubbling. It's pretty fun. And then one extra thing, which actually my father added to this recipe, is the parsley. Because parsleys make it just a lot more richer. I'm just going to quickly have a look of our chicken. Oh, I mean oh yes, there we are. So how I'm going to show this to you. In the meantime, I have to stir this. I try to do my best. So now the onions are cooked. You can use a blender to make even more creamy if you wish to. I would not do that because it's so loud and it's going to take a few minutes, but you don't have to do that. It's just make it a lot more creamy if you use that. I'm going to add loads of paprika powder because that's how I love it. You don't need to put as much as I do, but otherwise I won't feel it. I won't feed it too like it's feel like home. So I'm going to add loads. And I even going to add a bit of the other one as well, which is spicy. It's not spicy like the Thais or the Chinese spices. It's really comes at the end of when you're swallowing, and it's going to stuck in the end of your tongue. It's really special and really intense. So I try to show you that can you see it like this much? I put it in. But obviously it's going to be still really flavorful and very rich if you add some less. Then I quickly stir it. Add the garlic. Turn the heat back on. And put the chicken slices, which we cut it before, into it. And stir it around to just like make it, cover it up with this oniony, juicy, paprika, powdery toast all around.
So we had a question from one of our participants, and that is, if we're looking for, if you want a smokier flavor, what proportion of smoked paprika to sweet paprika would you do?
Well, probably I would do 1/3 and 2/3. So 1/3 of the smoky one and 2/3 of the sweet one, because that will be a good balance in my imagination. That will work.
Okay, thank you.
Otherwise, it's really the smoke flavor, usually really smoky. I mean, if it's a good paprika powder, it should be really smoky. So 1/3 would be absolutely enough. Right. The last thing which I'm gonna just quickly add to our stew is I got 2 pieces of real tomatoes. Hello. And 1 paprika. This is, well, pepper. Oh yeah. So this is our paprika. The bell pepper, what you have. That's the closest. The yellow one and the red one. Definitely do not use the green one because it's really bitter. Like, yeah, in what I have tried it before, it was really bitter. So you don't really have to do a lot. You just cut it in 4 pieces and just add it on the top of the stew. And I also do the same thing with the paprika itself. I'm not taking out the seeds. I don't know if you like it without seeds. I really love actually the flavor of the seeds. I believe it's adding something good. I'm gonna quickly show you how does it look like now. There we go. So now I'm gonna cover it and just let it think for the next, well, probably 45 minutes. Unfortunately, we won't be together by that time, but I still have 10 more minutes. So I try to be as fast as possible to show you the dumplings because it's actually pretty funny. So I'm quickly gonna chop the parsleys into my mix of the sour cream, the salt, and the flour. It's it's better if it's as fine as it's possible. Because then we have a special kind of blender, a tool, which comes from Sophie's family. Actually, I inherited from Sophie's family now. So her grandmother, when she graduated from the high school, her grandmother gave this tool to her and said, every Hungarian girl need this when they entering the adult life. This is the thing, what we talk about. And so Sophie said, okay, but then grandma, what's going to happen with you now? And she said, well, I never used it, so that's okay. Well, I do. And Sophie did as well. Meanwhile, she was cooking with me. So the trick is with this Hungarian dumpling, my pasta is a bit, oh no, it's going to be fine. So it has to be sticky. I'll try to show you. So it has to be really like sticky-ish, like this. And I heated up the water. So I'm gonna try to put this somewhere over here so you can actually might see a bit better what I'm doing. So in a few minutes time, it's gonna boil. I heat up some more water to make it a bit faster. And I have my thick pasta. Is there any questions you have in the meantime? I haven't checked the chats because I had no time for it. But do any of you have any questions? I'm just trying to get to. No, I can see it now.
Would you talk a little bit more about the business that you opened with Sophie? Because I'm not sure that it was 100% clear for everyone, because I think it's a great initiative and a very nice thing. So
can you just be, probably something is pretty loud in my kitchen, so I can't hear what she's just been saying.
like, would you talk a few words about your business that you opened with Sophie?
Oh yes, of course, with pleasure. So basically, we started to do these cooking classes through Airbnb as an Airbnb experience in about 2 years' time. We had so far more than 100 people in my flat, in my kitchen, in here, as where I'm standing at the moment. And people from all around the world, from Norway until in every part of America, then Australia, even a couple of ones from Europe as well. So they all came to visit Budapest and then to learn a little bit from the Hungarian culture, from Hungarians, about what we're eating, why we're eating that. Usually after we do this tour, what I just mentioned it before, we coming up to my flat, we have a little starter. Going every morning to the market and buying so it's a farmer's market, so from locals, some ham, some meat, some cheese, and all those things, what I really feel that tells something about the Hungarian culture. And then different kind of vegetables because of the season. So if it's like pumpkins, like then pumpkins, and then I cook some cut pumpkins, so oven it, and then just put it on the plate. So you can actually like taste that what we usually eat, and I'm telling the stories of what behind. And then we obviously we cheersing with palinka, which is our traditional schnapps. I show you one of the bottles. So this is how you can see it's really made for palinka, this long bottles. One of them even has real cherries inside. Really tasteful. It makes people really friendly and laughy pretty fast, which is really good because it's opens you up for different cultures, that's for sure. And then we have the starter. Then we try to get to know each other a little bit better, where they're coming from, what they're doing, why they're visiting the country. We had loads of amazing stories about not only Jewish stories, but like Hungarian stories. One of my favorite was an 85-year-old gentleman who's actually was a Hungarian man, emigrated with his parents into the United States when he was 9 and never been in Hungary afterwards. So basically in his last years, his daughters brought him to Budapest to see the city and have a look of where he actually been coming from, even if he can't really remember of anything what was Budapest like, 74 years before. And so they came, they spent 3 days in Budapest, they cooked with us one afternoon, and he actually knew the recipe. What's the next step? What's the next step? What's the next step? And he's been asking questions that, oh my God, then now we're going to put the chicken in it, aren't we? Oh yeah, and he became like a child. It was amazing. That elderly man was bumping around in the kitchen and getting like really exciting about the flavors, the smells, that everything came back to him. How was his mom was cooking this dish? How was the feeling? And it was, I still have goosebumps now. It was really, really one of my favorite moments in this. This is why we're doing these cooking classes, because of these stories. And in the meantime, now it's boiling. So I'll just quickly show you that how crazily easy to do this. I'm just going to add the pasta on the top of the grinder, and with a spatula, I'm just going to push it through into the boiling water. And then we cook a main course together and a dessert. Usually I try to choose a dessert which tells a bit more about our culture. I really love, for example, the poppy seed munch. I don't know if you ever been tasting any cookies with poppy seed before. Not like the grounded poppy seeds with some homemade marmalade, and it's looked like a little muffin. It's really beautiful though. And then we eat and sit and drink some more great wines from the country. I usually try to find something unique. We've got loads of different, very, very, very nice wine areas in the country. I don't know how much you can see. So now they are just in the pot for a few minutes, and as they coming up on the surface, I just quickly gonna stir them with my favorite fishing tool.
Can we get one of those instruments here in the US?
One of my older customers said that you can actually order it from Amazon. I'm gonna try to send it into the chats. That how is it in Hungarian?
To send it, so don't worry, I'm typing it.
Oh, you did. Oh, yes. The name is Nokedli. Yeah. So the grounder name is Nokedli Szaggató, and I'm pretty sure that, I mean, they said that you can order it from Amazon. Yeah. So it's a very useful tool. There's one rule which you have to remember all the time. It's always made from a cheap material. So if the pasta stucks on it, you can say goodbye to the whole thing because you're never going to get rid of it. You have to wash it as fast as possible, otherwise it's just going to stuck into your life. It's really awful then. So
but those who are visiting us, they can get it as a present from partnership. So come to visit Hungary and you can get a free Nokedli Szaggató.
That's the best marketing we ever done, I believe. And well, it came up on the surface. Actually, it's still gonna need probably 3 more minutes, and then the side dish is done for the stew. Heidi, do you know that is there any good pictures of how does it the whole dish looks like with the Nokedli, and can you add a link which has a picture?
Actually, I added a link with also the instructions how to make it. It's in English and it has pictures. So let's see if I can share my screen. Wait. Just a second. No, because I'm not a host, so I cannot share my screen, I guess. Or maybe Marcy can make me as a host, and then
I can't, Chloe, or I can. I'm having some.
It's no problem, because I read that Amy will share the link with all of the participants of this call, so they're gonna get it.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So if you put so there's only just one last thing which I would like to add for this dish. So if you put down on your plate, the nokedli, and then the paprika chicken, and then a dot of cream, or just as it is, with the parsley, with the white nokedlis and the red paprika sauce dish. It's, well, it turns out the Hungarian flag, and this is one of our traditional meal, because it's the Hungarian flag colors. So I hope oh yeah, it's 7 o'clock in my time, so it's probably I don't know, 1 o'clock in your time. Great. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're gonna cook it. I hope we're gonna see each other in Budapest at least once, and cook nokedli together, because it's fun. I even gonna just close it and fishing it out, because now it's done. The paprika, the chicken paprika is still gonna need about half an hour, but then my boyfriend's gonna be very, very happy.
Well, thank you very much. Hedy, thank you for introducing us.
Well,
And
thank you, really.
this was wonderful.